Hey, this is Josh, and here are the most insane facts about the Epstein files that nobody talks about. Number 50. The word cannibal appears 52 times in the Epstein files, with 6 mentions of cannibalism. One email from a redacted sender sparked online rumors. It references a restaurant called Cannibal and repeatedly mentions jerky, which some claim was a code word. Other files, however, contain far more explicit accusations about Epstein's activities. Number 49. One of the files implies that Epstein and his associates may have been involved in some kind of ritualistic sacrifice. The file in question revolves around an alleged interview between FBI officials and an anonymous man in 2019. The man claimed that he witnessed acts of sacrifice on board a yacht belonging to Epstein back in 2000. Although he provided no evidence, this remains one of the most deeply disturbing stories linked to the infamous sex trafficker. The files may be redacted, but what we do know is horrifying. Number 48. Numerous emails show Epstein asking women of different ages to send explicit photos and videos. Many appear nervous or distressed, trying to explain their fears. In one 2015 email, a woman tells him she's still a virgin and knows nothing about sex. Epstein ignores her and simply orders her to send an explicit selfie. Epstein's obsessions went far beyond emails. Number 47. Epstein installed numerous hidden cameras around his various properties. The sex trafficker asked one of his private pilots, Larry Wysocki, to buy a number of motion-detected hidden cameras. Wysocki later confirmed that he had purchased the cameras from a spy shop in Florida, adding, "It's amazing how small they are. They're the size of a thumbnail drive." Wysocki also wrote that he had already begun installing the cameras inside Kleenex boxes. And that voyeurism extended to every corner of his twisted empire. Number 46. Epstein may have used the hidden cameras to capture compromising videos of high-profile figures. Around the same time he was installing them, he received an email saying, "Remember what we spoke about? If you want to put cameras in the house, it'll have to be very discreetly done. The Russians may come in handy." Many believe Epstein was secretly filming guests and possibly sending the footage to Russian intelligence to blackmail politicians and businessmen worldwide. And this was just the beginning. Number 45. Many of Epstein's emails remain mysterious due to redactions. One sent just a day after Donald Trump won the 2016 election states, "Dear Jeffrey, you are so intelligent and powerful men. Please tell me what is going to happen with Europe and Eastern Europe." Epstein issues a curt response, "It's okay." Even Hollywood's elite were caught in Epstein's disturbing web. Number 44. A so-called Oscar guru joked about giving Epstein a baby from Africa. Peggy Siegel, a Hollywood insider, known for arranging exclusive screenings and promoting Oscar contenders, was in contact with Epstein for years. In one 2009 email exchange while she was visiting Kenya, Siegel offers to bring a little baby back for you or 2, boys or girls. And yet, no one in Hollywood publicly questioned that exchange. Epstein's boasts about power only scratched the surface of depravity. Number 43. Epstein claims to have direct ties to countless world leaders. In emails with businessmen, friends, and associates, he boasted about his powerful network across media, tech, and politics. In a 2018 exchange with former White House strategist Steve Bannon, Epstein even said, "There are many leaders of countries we can organize for you to have one-on-ones." He spoke as if arranging presidents was routine business. But Epstein wasn't just networking, he was building something far more sinister. Number 42. The former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, described Epstein as a collector of people. There are various emails involving Barak arranging dinner dates, meetings, and calls with Epstein. For the disgraced financier's 63rd birthday, Barak and his wife wrote him a letter highlighting his curiosity and the ability to know everything about everyone. And those words were prophetic. Number 41. Oscar-winning director Woody Allen's name appears over 7,000 times in the files. In the 2012 email, Epstein is asked where he is, and he replies, "Paris with Woody Allen." The redacted correspondent then asks if they're headed to Le Pédophile Convention. While Allen faces no allegations of wrongdoing, emails show he had close ties to Epstein, including the financier helping Allen's daughter get into college. And the celebrity connections only grow more unexpected. Number 40. New Age guru Deepak Chopra appears in the Epstein files thousands of times. Records show he met Epstein repeatedly, attending intimate dinners at his New York home, and even invited him on a 2017 trip to Israel, asking him to bring his girls. Chopra has denied any wrongdoing and wrote a statement online expressing regret for his poor judgment. Even wellness icons aren't immune to his orbit. Number 39. Celebrity longevity guru Peter Attia also corresponded with Epstein. Their emails reveal explicit sexual discussions and a close relationship, with Attia admitting he goes into withdrawal if he doesn't see Epstein for too long. In a 2015 exchange with Attia, who has since apologized. He said, "The biggest problem with becoming friends with you? The life you lead is so outrageous, and yet I can't tell a soul." Epstein's connections weren't just contained to the US. Number 38. Epstein had numerous high-profile connections in the Middle East. One of his most famous contacts was Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, an Emirati businessman and the CEO of multinational logistics company DP World. In a 2013 email exchange, bin Sulayem tells Epstein that the Moldavian is not as attractive as the picture, while going on to add, "The Ukrainian is very beautiful." The emails themselves reveal a chilling side to Epstein. Number 37. Epstein was often incredibly blunt in his emails, even when discussing seemingly serious topics. In a 2019 email, Epstein criticizes a woman for getting distracted and not giving him enough attention while she rubbed his head and feet. In another message, Epstein wrote, "Are you okay? I loved the torture video." On multiple occasions, Epstein referred to women as "it" instead of "she" or "her," showing that he saw them, especially females, as mere objects. That tone shows how normalized his behavior had become. Control wasn't optional inside Epstein's inner circle. More on that later. Number 36. Epstein set strict and bizarre rules for the staff at his Florida mansion to follow, which were listed in his household manual. The air conditioning in the main bedroom was supposed to be set to 60 degrees Fahrenheit at all times. There were also specific rules regarding the provision and placement of sex toys. But the mansion rules get even more sinister. Number 35. Epstein's mansion manual even specified that guns be kept in bedside drawers in the master bedroom. It also laid out strict, almost cult-like rules for how staff should act, speak, and behave around Epstein and his guests. But the most chilling part of the manual tells the staff to see nothing, hear nothing, say nothing, hinting at a dark culture of secrecy inside Epstein's mansion. Those rules weren't about comfort, they enforced control. Somehow, Epstein's tendrils reached the upper echelons of power. Number 34. Epstein's influence reached deep into the U.S. government. Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, is among many officials who spoke with Epstein and visited his private island. 2012 emails show Lutnick and his family stopped there, with Lutnick later admitting he visited with his wife, 4 children, and their nannies, despite previously claiming he cut ties with Epstein in 2005. Despite all this, top officials kept meeting him, including the most powerful men in the world. Number 33. Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary under President Bill Clinton, also features in the files. Records show he attended several meetings and dinners with Epstein over the years. The two even exchanged jokes and criticisms of President Donald Trump, with Epstein telling Summers, "Your world does not understand how dumb he really is." Summers later admitted it was a misguided decision to stay in touch with Epstein after his conviction and has since resigned from several roles. There was no professional arena off limits to the convicted sex trafficker. Number 32. Epstein also had ties to the sports world. The recently released files contain emails between the convicted sex trafficker and Steve Tisch, co-owner of the New York Giants football team. In emails, Tisch asks Epstein about a woman he met at Epstein's house, wondering if she was a, quote, pro or a civilian. In other messages, Epstein claims to have a present for Tisch, a supposedly exotic Tahitian woman he plans to introduce him to. And things get even more unbelievable. Number 31. Epstein tried to contact the Queen of England. Ahead of the 2011 Academy Awards, several of Epstein's associates reportedly tried to get Queen Elizabeth II to endorse future sex offender Harvey Weinstein's film, The King's Speech. Buckingham Palace resisted and the Queen didn't get involved. The movie went on to win multiple awards, including Best Picture. And that wasn't Epstein's only run-in with the British royal family. Number 30. In 2009, the former Duchess of York called Epstein the brother I have always wished for, after Epstein's initial conviction for sexual abuse. In emails, Sarah Ferguson, the ex-wife of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, asks Epstein for £20,000 to cover rent after her business collapsed. She calls him a legend and adds, "I am at your service, just marry me." Europe's political elite were tangled in this too. Number 29. Another of Epstein's European associates was Miroslav Lajčák, former Slovakian foreign minister. In an October 2018 exchange, Epstein sent him a redacted image. Lajčák replied, "Why don't you invite me for these games? I would take the MI girl." Epstein responded, "Who wouldn't? You can have them both. I am not possessive," and they're sisters. Lajčák has since resigned as national security advisor, though he hasn't been officially accused of any wrongdoing. His interests, however, became even more bizarre. Number 28. Epstein reportedly traveled with a harem of women, and that was the exact term used by the British billionaire Richard Branson. In a 2013 email, Epstein thanked Branson for his hospitality and PR advice. Branson replied, "It was really nice to see Epstein and that he'd love to meet again, as long as you bring your harem." Branson later claimed the harem referred to 3 adult women Epstein traveled with. Number 27. Epstein was interested in the concept of time travel. In 2011, Epstein discussed exploring the biological consequences of time travel with Harvard professor Martin Nowak. 2 years later, he emailed Yale professor David Galarenter about new experiences that allow him to travel to the past. And his personal life raises darker questions. Number 26. Epstein was seemingly searching for a fake wife at one point. In May 2016, Epstein received an email from a redacted sender asking if he still needed a fake wife. The sender claims to have found the perfect candidate, a 50-year-old Russian Jewish woman fluent in English who had lived and worked in New York City. Even tech billionaires weren't far from his reach. Number 25. Elon Musk exchanged emails with Epstein and his associates on a number of occasions between 2012 and 2013. In one message, the tech boss seemed eager to visit Epstein's private island, asking, "What day/night will be the wildest party on your island?" It appears Musk never went as plans fell through. He later defended himself on X, claiming he declined repeated invitations to visit. It seems nowhere was off limits for Epstein. Number 24. Epstein was invited to Buckingham Palace. In 2010, Epstein emailed someone nicknamed the Duke, believed to be the disgraced former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He asked for private time in London, with Andrew allegedly replying, "Delighted for you to come here to BP," believed to mean Buckingham Palace. There's one name in the files that continues to shock. Number 23. Donald Trump is one of the most mentioned figures in the Epstein files. A 6-page FBI spreadsheet shows multiple people called the National Threat Operations Center, alleging the U.S. president was involved in wrongdoing against young women. Investigators at the time deemed the tips not credible, and the White House has since stated the allegations are false and unfounded. But the island itself hides darker mysteries. Number 22. There was a trapdoor on Epstein's home island that led directly into water. A picture from the files shows the open door with rusty handholds leading down into a pool of dark water beneath. Some fear this door led directly into the sea and could have been used for nefarious purposes, from punishment to ritualistic sacrifice. Fact-checkers suggest it might have simply been for water collection and filtration. No official explanation has ever fully settled the debate. Could Epstein have been privy to national secrets? Number 21. A UK government official leaked confidential information to Epstein. Former US Ambassador Peter Mandelson reportedly forwarded marketing-sensitive information to Epstein in 2009 while serving in the British government, showing the billionaire's global influence. Mandelson has since been fired from his ambassador role and as of February 2026 is under investigation by UK authorities. It seems that money was one of his most powerful weapons. Number 20. Epstein regularly sent huge sums of money to associates around the world. There are countless examples throughout the files of the financier paying for first-class flights, college tuition fees, and helping out with other bills and expenses for everyone, including the former Duchess of York to Dr. Oz. Given that he was worth around $600 million at the time of his death, Epstein clearly had no problem splashing the cash to earn favors and expand his influence. Throughout the files, one word keeps appearing disturbingly often, and it's not what you would expect. Number 19. The word "whoops" shows up more than 400 times in the Epstein files. Epstein used this word in bizarre and disturbing ways. In one email exchange, he replies "whoops" after the sender writes that they're giving him permission to kill someone who has lied to them. Epstein also writes "whoops" when he learns of the alleged assault of a young woman and when he hears the news that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s second wife was found dead. Even future royalty exchanged friendly messages. Number 18. Epstein had close ties to the Queen of Norway. There are numerous email exchanges between the sex trafficker and Norwegian Crown Princess Mette-Marit, dated between 2011 and 2014. In those messages, the princess calls Epstein soft-hearted, a sweetheart, and very charming. She also exchanged messages with Epstein about what he labeled as a wife hunt in Paris, telling him that Scandinavian women are better wife material. Epstein had power and money, but where did his wealth go after he died? Number 17. Epstein left tens of millions of dollars to dozens of associates. One of the documents in the Epstein files was the 1953 trust, in which the pedophile lists the various people he wanted to pass his wealth on to. While many of the names in the document have been redacted, several have been revealed to the public. They include Epstein's longtime lawyer, Darren Indyke, and his accountant, Richard Kahn. Other beneficiaries include Epstein's pilots, his brother, children of political figures, and several individuals about whom very little is known. And it gets even more shocking. Number 16. The biggest of Epstein's beneficiaries listed in the 1953 trust is Karina Shuliak. Epstein left nearly all his real estate, a diamond ring, and a collection of loose diamonds, $50 million in cash, and another $50 million in an annuity to be paid over the coming years. The scale of that inheritance stunned even the investigators. Shuliak, believed to be Epstein's girlfriend, was reportedly the last person to call him shortly before his 2019 prison death. And the worst is still yet to come. Number 15. Epstein tried to meet with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, whose name appears over 1,000 times in the files. Between 2013 and 2018, he repeatedly asked friends to arrange a face-to-face meeting and even sought a Russian visa, though it's unclear if the two ever actually met. Secretive codes could reveal the dark side of Epstein's world. Number 14. There are hundreds of references to pizza in the files. In fact, the word pizza originally appeared more than 900 times in the files, though dozens of references have since been removed. Several people also mentioned pizza and grape soda in the same message or sentence. In 2018, an Epstein associate asks, "This is better than a Chinese cookie. Let's go for a pizza and grape soda again." Those references appear repeatedly, often in unusual contexts. Many commenters believe that those might be code words used by Epstein and his inner circle to refer to their nefarious activities. His plans for children grow even darker. Number 13. Ghislaine Maxwell may have attempted to have a baby with Epstein. In an email from 2007, around the time when Maxwell claimed she had left Epstein's orbit and ended any romantic involvement with him, she wrote detailed instructions for Epstein to provide a sperm sample, suggesting that the two were planning some sort of shared fertility procedure. This ties in with the statements from Epstein's victim, Virginia Giuffre, who claimed in her memoir that Epstein and Maxwell intended to use her as a surrogate for their child. And that certainly wasn't Epstein's only attempt at becoming a father. Number 12. Epstein may have had at least one secret child. There are numerous hints and references to Epstein's potential offspring throughout the files, including a message from former Duchess of York Sarah Ferguson. In 2011, Ferguson emailed Epstein to congratulate him on the birth of a child, writing, "Heard from the Duke that you've had a baby boy." But the story gets much uglier from there. Number 11. Another possible reference to an Epstein child appears in the diary of one alleged victim. In a journal entry, a young woman shared a pregnancy scan with coded messages, strongly implying that Epstein had impregnated her. Even more disturbingly, she goes on to state that her newborn child was taken from her almost immediately after birth. If this is correct, it suggests something far more organized and disturbing, and the island holds physical symbols of secrecy. Number 10. Epstein had a bizarre temple-like building constructed at the highest point of his island. The building's exterior is decorated with blue and white stripes, with stone steps leading up to a grand set of double doors. Inside, the temple appears unfinished, with a pair of mattresses covered in yellow shrink wrap and scraps of wood on the floor. The ceiling, meanwhile, was decorated with a strange mural depicting the signs of the zodiac. Nobody seems to know why this structure was made or how it was used. Epstein's scientific obsessions were deeply disturbing. Number 9. Epstein was obsessed with genetics. It has long been known that the sex trafficker was fascinated with so-called transhumanism, or the idea of improving the human population through genetic engineering. But recent emails show just how fixated he was on this particular topic. In one message, Epstein discusses funding research to genetically modify embryos to produce children with more desirable traits, disturbingly calling them designer babies. The experiments he discussed get even stranger. Number 8. In other emails with high-profile scientists and entrepreneurs, Epstein discusses the possibility of using genetic engineering to increase female sex drives. He discussed this idea at length with former Stanford professor of human biology Nathan Wolfe on several occasions. The pair mused over the possibility of creating a kind of female Viagra and discussed studies linking sexual behavior and microbial diversity in women. And his beliefs reveal something deeply troubling. Number 7. Epstein's genetic obsession also involved deep-seated racist beliefs. In a 2016 email exchange with German cognitive scientist and former MIT professor Joshua Bach, Epstein showed an interest in the idea of genetically modifying black people in order to make them, quote, smarter. That same year, in emails to Noam Chomsky, Epstein doubled down, arguing that a set of genes used for working memory in black people could be found and adjusted to improve their intelligence. He even experimented on himself. Number 6. Epstein paid for special gene testing to extend his lifespan. In 2008, Epstein paid a senior doctor at Massachusetts General Hospital to sequence his genome and conduct personalized longevity studies, allegedly involving experimental gene editing that could have extended his life. The total cost for all the projects would have come close to $200,000, though records only show Epstein paying an initial $2,000. But his ultimate plan was far more extreme. Number 5. Epstein had a secret scheme to spread his DNA. He reportedly planned to impregnate up to 20 women at a time at his New Mexico ranch, calling it a baby factory. He shared these intentions with high-profile businessmen and scientists. There's no evidence that he ever carried out the plan, but the very fact that he thought of it shows the depths of his depravity. Epstein's homes reflected his dark, twisted thoughts. Epstein was obsessed with explicit artwork and imagery. Many of the photos released of his various properties depict countless pictures, paintings, photographs, and other depictions of naked women. A picture of his New York desk has a framed photo of a scantily clad woman lying on a bed, while a mural in one of his bedrooms depicts a naked figure prancing around while demonic figures watch on. Some of Epstein's artworks, however, are much, much worse. Number 3. Terrifying themed artwork and furniture was found throughout Epstein's New York home. Pictures released among the Epstein files reveal bizarre and downright disturbing images used to decorate the sex trafficker's New York City apartment. There was a strange life-size statue of a young man sitting on a bench, for example, but the most disturbing piece was a table in one of the hallways adorned with statues of 2 crying babies, which seemed to be stuck to the table's legs. But even Epstein's close friends questioned who he really was. Number 2. Steve Bannon implied that Epstein might be the devil. In a video interview released as part of the files, Bannon, Donald Trump's former strategist and close advisor, asks Epstein if he believes he is the devil himself. Epstein smirks before answering, "No, but I have a good mirror." Bannon then pushes him for a proper answer, adding that he has all the attributes of the devil. In response, Epstein states, "The devil scares me." And just before the end, everything shifted. Number 1. Epstein was reportedly ready to cooperate with the FBI shortly before his death. Less than 2 weeks before he reportedly died in prison in August 2019, Epstein's lawyers met with Manhattan federal prosecutors to discuss the possibility of him cooperating with the authorities. An FBI document mentions discussions in very general terms about a possible resolution to the Epstein case, suggesting he might finally have been ready to reveal the truth about his illegal activities. This fuels the long-running theory that powerful people may have killed him to silence what he knew. Now go check out The Mistake That Exposed Jeffrey Epstein's Entire Operation, or click on this video instead.